Alright, I know it's been a little bit since I've posted a vid, but I promise I was doing very productive things for society. Anyways, y'all didn't come here for all that. I'm sure you came because you read the title. Now, I don't know if you're expecting a rant about AEW, but I'm not here to do all that chest beating and raging about the product. About 3 months ago, I posted my first video, which was essentially my opinion of AEW to that point. And at the time, I really wasn't feeling what Tony Khan was giving us on TV every week. And basically, I told myself that I'm going to give Tony Khan another chance. I'm going to give this a few months, and we're going to revisit the product again. A lot has happened in wrestling over the past few months, and I wanted to see if Tony Khan either capitalized on it, or if he's going to continue to fumble the bag. And here we are now. The product is still bad. In fact, I feel like it's gotten worse. The booking is still hot dog water, bro. Talent management has been terrible, and there have been 3 separate incidents within the past few weeks alone where dudes have been trying to murder each other backstage. Tony can tweet about the positive locker room culture and how everything's all sunshine and rainbows all he wants, but the evidence does not lie. There's a lot that needs to be cleaned up. But still, even with the crappy booking and everything that's going on, I still don't think that AEW is a total lost cause yet. But Tony's handling of everything has been the equivalent of using Elmer's glue to fix a skyscraper. Something needs to happen because the product is trending in the wrong direction. Why do I say that? Let's talk about it. I've given this a lot of thought over the past few months. It was very hard to pinpoint the biggest problems that AEW has because there's just so many. And I think that after 3 years of existence, this whole narrative that AEW is still the new company can be put to rest. I don't think most of you guys truly understand how long 3 years is. To break it down for you, 3 years is equivalent to 1,095 days, 26,280 hours, 1,576,800 minutes, and like 90 something million seconds. You're gonna sit here and tell me that after all that time, the product still hasn't grown one bit. AEW is not new. That narrative is dead now. The product is a fumble in my opinion because it could be so much better than it actually is. And I already know I'm gonna have that one person that tells me, oh, it's a fumble because you just don't like it. No, it's a fumble because AEW itself put itself on a pedestal. At the beginning, they told us what we were supposed to expect and gave us the opposite. So I'm holding them to that standard that they set for themselves. I still do like some aspects of the show, but we really have to start holding Tony Khan to the same standards that a lot of you had for Vince and the WWE. And do not hit me with the, but the WWE is a 50-year company nonsense. Because the reality of it is, in 5 years, it's still going to be 50 years ahead of AEW. In 10 years, it's still going to be 50 years ahead of AEW. That's literally never going to change. Stop using that as an excuse for AEW's problems. Over the years, we all got on Vince's case for most of the things that Tony Khan is currently doing right now with AEW. But of course, some of you don't want to admit that. Look, Tony Khan isn't perfect, nor should we expect him to be. He's literally a fan like the rest of us who just so happened to inherit some money to start a wrestling company. But he's not exempt from criticism. AEW has a very, very devoted fan base that will watch no matter what and will defend the product as if their lives depended on it. Those are the 800,000 to 900,000 viewers that Tony Khan caters way too heavily to. He books for the internet fans who take the time out of their days to watch anything and everything wrestling related, and the same people that expect everyone else to know everything about wrestling too. Respectfully, most of us have lives and don't have time for all that. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but it really isn't a flex to go around saying that you watch and follow every indie wrestling promotion on the planet. People are just gonna think that you have no life. Don't get mad at me, I don't make the rules. It's obvious to me that Tony Khan books this way because of the people that he surrounds himself with. Also because, as I said earlier, he's just like the hardcore fans who love fantasy booking and work rate matches. It's not the sports-based presentation that we were expecting from the beginning. Hell, it isn't even sports entertainment at this point. I don't even know how to describe AEW anymore because the booking is so schizophrenic every single week. We'll have guys like Bryan Danielson putting on a wrestling clinic in one segment, and then we'll see a pizza man gimmick, and then we'll get a gymnastics showcase, and then we'll get whatever the hell Chris Jericho considers as good comedy. AEW needs an identity. Dynamite is all over the place, and Rampage is just Diet Dynamite. Tony Khan flexed hard about how he used to watch classic wrestling and wanted AEW to emulate that style, but what we've gotten is the furthest thing from it. What I think Tony Khan should do is sit down with the experienced people that he has under contract and do a hard reset of the company. It's gotten stale already. I don't care about the ratings, but a lot of people do, and in terms of those ratings, it's not growing and it's not declining. It's literally been stuck in the same spot. As a matter of fact, they haven't even passed the viewer rating from the first Dynamite. It's been 3 years. And that's not just me being biased either. If you look at the ratings from 2019 until now, you'll see that the shows aren't even appealing to a wider audience. Tony needs to hire a booker. He's been handling the majority, if not all, the booking himself, and you've seen how far that's gotten him. AEW needs to break past the ceiling that it currently has. Vince McMahon literally donated him a lot of fan favorite talent and the show hasn't changed a single bit. And that falls on the booking. The roster is stacked, yet the show still feels lackluster. Name one talent that was released from WWE that is in a better spot now than they were when they were there. I'll wait. Exactly. Tony could sign a prime Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and have every big star from the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression eras, and it still wouldn't change anything if he doesn't use them correctly. It's so frustrating because Tony has experienced people that could easily help him with his booking. When he signed William Regal, it felt like that was the route he was going to take. He was around for the best years of NXT. He has all that knowledge, and why not use his knowledge to make your product better? Instead, he's in the Blackpool Combat Club where they kick dogs and drink blood and push over babies or something. Tony needs to hire someone who knows what the hell they're doing because he certainly doesn't. He's suffering right now from being everyone's friend. When you get too friendly with people, they often take advantage of you in some type of way. That's why we've seen everyone on the roster do whatever the hell they want, and when it comes to the matches, they are all the same. Everything about AEW matches is rinse and repeat. Tell me when I'm telling lies. This is the formula for most AEW matches. The fight starts before the bell, there's slaps, flips, trading elbows and chops, the fight goes to the floor, the referee takes 5 minutes to count to 10, you go back in the ring, trade more bad looking elbows and chops, a few more big spots, false finishes, more chops, finisher, pin, match is over, and then something always has to happen after the match. Go back and look, almost every match follows that formula. And since we're on this topic, the wrestlers end up doing what they want, and guess what? They end up getting hurt. Injuries have been another big problem for AEW. Obviously, injuries happen in wrestling all the time, and that's not going to change. But when in the history of wrestling has there ever been a larger list of injuries than AEW had this summer? Tony lets his talent do way too much. And if this keeps up, my fear is that something fatal is going to happen and no one wants to see that. Some of you may think that injuries only affect a wrestler for the time that they're out of action, but certain injuries shorten lives. And if you've played any kind of sport growing up and you get hurt, you know that you don't come back 100% the same. We've seen it not just in wrestling, but professional sports as a whole. But the difference is, other sports organizations adjust to try and prevent those things from happening. After all the injuries that we've seen in AEW, the car crash match styles haven't changed, and let's be honest, they're probably not going to. And speaking of car crash, we have to talk about all these stipulation matches. AEW has overused the hell out of stipulations. Matches get them just because. A stipulation is supposed to be a big deal, and it's supposed to make sense to the program. If Tony actually looked back through history, he'd understand that. Plus, is it just me, or does every match feel like it's a no DQ match? Someone could literally be committing murder in the ring and the referees don't bat an eye. Rick Knox. The match rules and logic in AEW make no sense. A regular match where you can actually get disqualified and has rules feels like a stipulation at this point. Make that make sense. And for the love of God, I think we've all had enough of the casino battle royals and the casino ladder matches, the casino bar fights, the casino tickle fights, the casino everything, all of it done. Enough. They get worse every time and mostly don't lead to anything. Tony should put more time into giving us matches and programs that we care about. I am so tired of random tag team matches, random trios matches, random 8-man tags, and random contender matches where someone from outside of the company, instead of his contracted talent, get an opportunity to face the world champion. But like I said, I don't care for the ratings, but they don't lie. People will tune in, watch, and then tune back in the next week if you give them something to care about. Crazy concept, I know, right? With the roster that Tony Khan currently has, there is zero reason for his television to be this bad. Which brings me to my next point, the overly thick roster. And by thick, I mean 3 C's thick. I am all for people having jobs, but offering a contract to every talent under the sun isn't sustainable. Not sustainable as in money-wise, but sustainable in the fact that most of them won't even be getting used and will just end up on Dark. Tony brings in wrestlers for a cheap pop. If they come from the WWE, they do the I hate WWE promo. They have buzz for a few weeks and then end up in catering. Don't get me wrong, if you're getting paid to do absolutely nothing, hey, by all means, if that's what you want to do with your career, sure, get the bag. But for the wrestlers that actually take their business seriously, Tony's just wasting days away on their career. He needs to trim the fat and get rid of the talent that adds nothing to his show. And if he doesn't want to get rid of them, round up all the ones that contribute nothing and keep them on YouTube. Television is more important than YouTube. When someone wasn't getting used by Vince, you guys would lose your damn minds and complain. And all this talk about Tony letting contracts expire and not releasing talent that want to leave, you guys would have had a field day on Twitter talking about the WWE being a prison. The Free Ali hashtag. All I'm saying is keep that same energy. But going back to the roster size, not everyone needs to be on television. The brand is called All Elite Wrestling, not Alright Everyone Wrestle. Feature your main event stars, feature a strong mid-card, feature a good tag division, and feature developing stars. And my god, don't get me started on the women's division. I have to have a whole separate video for that one. But yeah, with a smaller, dedicated roster, he can develop his talent a lot easier for fans to get invested in them. Back to a point I said earlier, Tony's biggest problem is that he's way too friendly. Some of these guys know that they won't get fired, take advantage of him, and feel that they can get away with whatever they want. Which then brings us to the elephant in the room, Tony's leadership. At the end of the day, contracted talent have to have enough respect for their bosses to not do anything that's detrimental to the company. Within the last month, that hasn't been the case. Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara got into it backstage and it was swept under the rug. Andrade and Sammy got into it recently and now that's being swept under the rug. And the media scrum after All Out is still the most talked about subject in AEW right now. And that really says something when the backstage news outshadows the stuff that's going on TV. These incidents all happening in such a short amount of time is a PR disaster for AEW. And on the topic of the media scrum incident, regardless of what side you're on, both parties were in the wrong for how things played out. In my opinion, CM Punk actually had valid points during his rant, but his track record has made him a target for most of the criticism. He knows he's bulletproof, which is why he said all those things. And if you think about it, a lot of people have problems with the Elite, and not everyone has enough pull to say those things. Still, I don't think that CM Punk should have aired all that dirty laundry out in front of the public. And with the Bucks and Omega, as EVPs, they should not have stormed into his locker room when tensions were already high. And I don't know about you, but if I'm hurt, pissed off, and it's 2 in the morning and some random dudes bust into my locker room with some smoke, I'm squabbling too. A lot of people are making out the Elite in this situation as being innocent, when in actuality, they're the ones who should be taking most of the blame. What EVPs from major companies would act the way that they did? They are not saints. Moral of the story, with everything that's happened recently, it all falls back on Tony Khan and his lack of leadership to keep his talent under control. It's pretty obvious that they don't respect him, because if they did, none of this would have happened. I think it's about time that Tony puffs out his chest to let everyone know that none of this stuff is gonna slide anymore. Friendly Tony needs to go away. No one is gonna respect him just because he's nice. He needs to make sure that incidents and fights like that don't happen anymore, because TV executives take note of all of that. It may not seem as serious to a lot of hardcore fans, but AEW could lose out on a new TV deal if all this negative PR comes back to bite the company in the ass. I really don't want to see AEW crumble, because there's still some good to it. But if the booking, talent management, and structure of the company don't change, my fear is that it'll be the next company on Access TV. Of course, this was all just my opinion. I want to know what you think. How do you feel about the current AEW product? Do you think I'm capping and AEW is just fine the way it is? Or do you feel that the product needs a revamp? And also, quick side note, it may not seem like a pretty big deal, but we're pretty close to reaching 100 subs. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think I'd get the kind of feedback that my content has been getting since I started a few months ago, and I truly appreciate the hell out of you guys, and hopefully we grow even bigger. Like I said, 100 isn't too big of a deal, especially with all the other great content creators in this community, but I just wanted to take the time to say thank you. Also, if I get lazy again and don't upload for a while, just just throw something at me. But yeah, how do you feel about AEW right now? Let me know.